Ladies and gentlemen, at least in my experience in professional wrestling, there's never been a situation quite like what's been going on between the NWA Elite and the Devil's Rejects, and specifically between the Rev Dan Wilson and Jeff G. Bailey. Tonight, we're going to do something that has never been done in this arena, and I don't believe has been done in professional wrestling. We're going to present a debate. I will moderate, I will present the topics, and both Jeff G. Bailey and Dan Wilson will be given limited amounts of time to answer. Out of this, perhaps we'll have a greater understanding of why we are ending up where we are at Anarchy Rules at Hardcore Hell on March 31st. At this time, let me introduce the Reverend Dan Wilson. And now let me introduce Jeff G. Bailey. And if either of you touches the other, there will be no match at Hardcore Hell, and both you and your teams will be gone from Anarchy. Security, I'd like you please to stay ready. If at any time you see either of these two men make an aggressive move toward the other, I ask you to please come to the ring. Please be seated. Please be seated. Let's stop acting like spoiled children. Sit down. Sit down. I've explained to the crowd, I'll explain to you. I'll be asking a series of questions. I'll provide a limited period of time for each of you to answer. When that time is up, I will take back the microphone. In some cases, I will allow rebuttal by the other side. Let me start. Jeff G. Bailey, your history in this building is well known. You've been a manipulator. You've been an influence, I believe in a negative way, for many, many years. Dan Wilson, your position in this building was nothing but positive. Starting as a ring announcer, eventually as a play-by-play announcer, you were truly one of the best ever to do that. But something happened. Something obviously happened. You came into Anarchy with a mission to put this company out of business, targeting Jerry Palmer. That didn't happen. But then, you decided to target Jeff G. Bailey. I guess the first question I want to know is why?
Well, the war with Jerry Palmer was put to rest because, begrudgingly I'll say it, he earned my respect. A bigger fish to fry came about, and a man that, don't get me wrong, he doesn't want you to know that he's got a heart. But when I was a kid breaking into this building, unbeknownst to everybody, he took me under his wing and taught me what it takes to succeed in wrestling. But when I came and started the Devil's Rejects, we had a pact that our respective families would not step on one another's toes. And when you inked the deal with Jerry Palmer to bring in Abyss and AJ Styles, your old buddies, that was when you stabbed me in the back. You chose to make the first strike. Now live with the consequences.
Jeff, clearly his accusation is that you were responsible for the Monster Abyss and for AJ Styles being involved with Jerry Palmer. Were you?
First of all, Dan, you failed against Jerry Palmer, which had nothing to do with me. Second of all, yes, I helped Jerry Palmer get Abyss because he paid me a lot of money, and now he owes me a favor. As far as AJ Styles, of course, you can blame me for that, but I had nothing to do with that. It wasn't my fault he was there, and the fact is, Abyss and AJ Styles had nothing to do with your failure. It was Jerry Palmer, the fireman, who dumped you in that casket. You can't be a fireman and you want to take on me? Boy, that is a death wish.
Jeff G. Bailey brings up a death wish. I called it a blood feud. It appears to me that while each of you is focusing the other, you're doing it at the expense of everyone around you. Dan, within recent time, Azrael was nearly burnt to a crisp in the ring doing your bidding. Tank has still not returned due to severe burns on his face. Iceberg was cut open by Jeff Lewis. You didn't seem to care. But so too, when Onyx was laying here in the middle of the ring, clearly in severe pain, and was tearing to the back, you continued as if nothing had happened. Are the people you represent a team, people to whom you're loyal, or are they something else?
I'd love to answer that one. You see, because there's a big difference. To Jeff G. Bailey, they're pawns. They're pieces of meat. They always have been. Look at your history. How many clients have stayed with you consistently for more than a year? I can hardly think of one. On my one hand, I could probably count them all. The point is, yes, Azrael was burned. Yes, Iceberg was busted open and Tank was burned, and they all live for doing it. I do care, because we're a family, and we live under one oath, and we die under one oath. And I'd get in there and die right beside them, which is something that you could never say.
Then he said Charles Manson had a family. Many said Jim Jones did too, and there were dire consequences. But Jeff, he makes a good point, and it also brings me to another thought. For most of your career, you focused on the titles. Now you seem to be focused on destruction at the expense of your own team. And that brings me to the thought, is Onyx going to be part of your team? Has he recovered? My information is he will not be at Hardcore Hell.
First of all, I don't know where you get your information from, because if it didn't come from me, it's garbage. And let me explain something to you and to him and everyone else. When there is war, there are casualties of war. And that night, Onyx was a casualty of war, and he knew what he was getting into when he got in this ring. And if he got hurt and helped to the back, he didn't expect me to hold his hand on the way to the back, like Dan has to run around with his rejects and hold their hands and wipe their blood off and put some salve on their burns. Well, it's not the last time they're gonna get burned. And for your question, Onyx will be here at Hardcore Hell because he knows better than anyone. You do not disappoint Jeff G. Bailey, and you do not betray the NWA Elite. And let me make it clear that at Hardcore Hell, in this Anarchy Rules match, with these jerks out here bringing the weapons, I don't care what they bring, but I promise you, we are gonna hurt every single member on your team, you included.
This will be the final question for each of you. Dan Wilson, over the last several weeks, we've seen Iceberg return. We've seen Azrael and Sean Tempers, but we haven't seen Dominus, and we haven't seen Tank for weeks. Are you coming into Hardcore Hell with a complete team or a broken team?
I have a complete team of animals that are frothing at the mouth to get their hands on the NWA Elite. Tank is hiding in the shadows. Dominus is hiding in the shadows. And the rejects will be at full strength for Hardcore Hell. That will be the end of the line for this war. I'm tired of fooling with it. I'm tired of fooling with you. Old man, it's time to put you to rest back in the retirement home where you belong.
Jeff G. Bailey, you've already addressed the status of Onyx. I'm still not convinced. candidates, but clearly Jeff Lewis will be there, Abomination, and we're aware that Corey Chavis. But by my count, if he has 5 members strong, and you have 3, maybe 4 with Onyx, you're still a man short. Are you going to come into Anarchy Rules a man short?
Well, you know, I think maybe Dan should answer that question and let him introduce the last member of my team.
What?
From Memphis, Tennessee, weighing in at 246 pounds, the Messiah of the Buster, David Young.
Are you kidding me? We got David Young, Bill Behrens being tossed around the ring. Did I hear that right? David Young is going to be on the side of the NWA Elite at Hardcore Hell in just a